Ultralight Practice Exam 3. The recency requirement in an advanced ultralight with passenger privileges is blank takeoffs and landings within the previous blank months. 5 takeoffs and landings within the previous 6 months, so 5-6. With regard to a flight itinerary, the responsible person means someone who has agreed to report the non-arrival of a flight. The minimum lighting allowed to mark takeoff and landing areas at an aerodrome at night are 2 parallel lines of retro-reflective markers with a fixed white light at each end of the runway. A pilot may commence a flight in an aircraft when assured that frost, ice, or snow is not adhering to any of the critical surfaces. The controller suggests a takeoff from a runway intersection. The pilot must be aware that it is the pilot's responsibility to ensure that the remaining runway length is sufficient for takeoff. A VFR flight departs an airport that requires an aircraft to have a functioning transponder with Mode C capability. Unless otherwise instructed by the ATC on departure, the transponder should be set to code 1200 with Mode C on. A pilot, after accepting a clearance and subsequently finding that all or part of the clearance cannot be complied with, should comply as best as possible under the circumstances and advise ATC as soon as possible. An aircraft cruising VFR in flight level above 3,000 feet AGL on a track of 290 magnetic in the SDA shall be flown at an even 1,000 plus 500 foot. Remember, east is odd, west is odder. Over non-populous areas or over open water, a pilot may not fly an aircraft at a distance less than 500 feet, blank feet from any person, vessel, vehicle, or structure. Answer is 500. When a control tower associated with Class C control zone is closed, the airspace becomes what type of airspace? Class E. Flight within Class F airspace with the identifier CYR may be permitted subject to prior approval. When in VFR flight within controlled airspace, a pilot must maintain at least the following distance from cloud: 500 feet vertically, 1 mile horizontally. What distance from cloud shall an aircraft maintain when flying below 1,000 feet AGL within uncontrolled airspace? Clear of cloud, because it's uncontrolled. A large letter X placed near the threshold of a runway indicates the runway is closed. A single-engine aircraft operating beyond gliding distance from shore or taking off from or landing on water shall have on board 1 life jacket for each person. When operating an ultralight, aircraft insurance is required at all times. When advised by the ATS that war has been declared and that air security rules are in effect, all aircraft in flight must comply with all ATC requests. No person shall exercise the privileges of a license or rating unless that person has acted as a pilot or co-pilot at least once in the last 5 years. Rough, milky, and opaque, and looking like the inside of a freezer, this is a description of rime ice. The continuous use of fuel having an octane rating higher than that specified for a particular engine may result in the fouling of spark plugs. What primary control surfaces move when the control wheel is rotated clockwise? The right aileron moves up and the left aileron moves down. During a climb, an aircraft has a tendency to turn due to P-factor, slipstream, and torque. The procedure to counteract this tendency is to apply right rudder pressure. Maneuvering speed is the maximum speed at which abrupt control movement may be used. If speed is increased while in a constant bank, the rate of turn decreases. Through which point is the sum of an aircraft's lift forces assumed to act? The center of pressure. Which instruments will read incorrectly if the static pressure source becomes blocked? The altimeter, airspeed, and vertical speed indicators. The upper limit of the white arc on an airspeed indicator is the maximum flap extension speed. If the difference in indicated altitude between an altimeter set to 28.90 inches mercury and one set to 29.90 inches mercury is approximately 1,000 feet. Acceleration errors in a basic magnetic compass are most pronounced on headings of east and west. The use of flaps for landing increases the approach angle by increasing drag. Through which point is the aircraft weight assumed to act? The center of gravity. Which movement of an aircraft takes place about the normal axis? Yaw. What causes induced drag? The wing, in the process of accelerating air downwards while producing lift, creates wingtip vortices and induced drag as part of the lift producing process. What is the dihedral? The angle that each wing makes with the horizontal. What color is 100 LL? Blue. Can auto fuel be used in an aeroplane? Yes, if the aeroplane has been certified to use vehicle car gas. Why do high compression engines require fuels of a higher grade? To avoid detonation and resulting destruction of the engine. An isobar is a line on a weather map joining points of equal barometric pressure. The resultant of the pressure gradient wind and Coriolis force that is that at 5,000 feet the geostrophic wind blows parallel to the isobars. A cold air mass moving slowly over warm ground would most likely result in turbulence at lower levels. With the passage of a cold front, the surface wind usually veers and increases in speed. An aeroplane flying in strong headwinds on an approach to land suddenly encounters calm winds near the ground. The wind shear hazard to be expected is decrease in airspeed, which could cause a stall. The appearance of cirrostratus, altostratus, nimbostratus in succession over an aerodrome normally indicates that a warm front is approaching. A cold front is best defined as the leading edge of an advancing cold air mass. An air mass is a large section of atmosphere which the temperature and moisture are uniform in the horizontal. Select conditions that could be associated with stable air. Fog, inversion, and steady drizzle. With a cirrostratus cloud cover reported along the route, a flight should encounter no precipitation. Stratus clouds are classified as low clouds, base surface to 6,500 feet. Pressure altitude is the altitude indicated when the altimeter is set to 29.92 inches mercury. Given pressure altitude, 5,000 feet, air temperature plus 20 Celsius, the density altitude will be closest to 6,700 feet. Navigation computer is required for that. The rate of decrease of temperature per 1,000 feet in the ICAO standard atmosphere is 1.98 Celsius. A requirement for the formation of all types of fog is a relatively high relative humidity. Squall lines are more likely to occur along rapidly moving cold fronts. METR, CYQG, with reference to the above METR for Windsor, over the next few hours, you could expect fog. Question 55. Using the above data, the average wind for a flight from North Bay to Ottawa at 5,500 feet would be closest to 250 true and 25 knots. The meteorological term marginal VFR means 1,000 to 3,000 feet visibility, so I guess 1,000 to 3,000 feet would be the ceiling. Visibility 3 to 5 miles. The Sudbury TAF indicates that between 3 to 8 Zulu, there is tempo for overcast cloud at 3,000 feet. The Stephenville report surface wind at 2,200 Zulu is 240 true at 7 knots. The Churchill Falls reported ceiling is 2,200 Zulu, is no ceiling reported. The Churchill Falls reported altimeter setting at 2,200 Zulu is 29.94 inches mercury. If the atmosphere around your aircraft is colder than the standard conditions, your aircraft will be lower than the indicated altitude. High to low, look out below. 1 minute of altitude is equal to 1 minute of latitude is equal to 1 nautical mile. Your planned ETA at Winnipeg Airport is 1,500 Zulu on the 15th day of the month. According to the above NOTAM, the full length of the runway will be available at your ETA. Using the Winnipeg VNC, what is located at 51 degrees at north 51.49, west 93.58? The answer is Pickangicum Airport. Draw a line from Red Lake Airport to Pickangicum Airport. What is the true track? The answer is 353. What is the magnetic track from Red Lake to Pickangicum? 370. Oh, sorry, 350. Using the Winnipeg VNC, using the information from the previous questions, if the winds are 310 true at 15 knots and the true airspeed of 100 knots, what is the true heading from Red Lake Airport to Pickangicum Airport? 340. Oh, sorry, the answer is 347. Using the same conditions above, what is the ground speed? 89. Based on the above ground speed, what is the estimated time en route from Red Lake to Pickangicum, adding 5 minutes for climb, 36 minutes? How long is the runway at Pickangicum? 3,500 feet. When leaving Red Lake, the frequency to broadcast on is 122.3. On the first call on the radio on Red Lake's frequency, the pilot should start the radio transition by saying Kenora Radio at Red Lake. The tower located between Red Lake and Pickangicum is 525 AGL. The dashed dotted line located at the top right corner of the map is an air route, dashed and dotted. The dashed line in the top right corner is the line of variation. What class of airspace is Red Lake Airport? Class E. If a flight is made from an area of low pressure into an area of high pressure without the altimeter setting being adjusted, the altimeter will indicate lower than the actual altitude above the sea. Determine the pressure altitude with an indicated altitude of 1380 feet MSL with an altimeter setting of 28.22 at standard temperature. The answer is 3,080 feet MSL. Take 29.92 minus 28.22 and you add that to 1380 feet after you've multiplied it by 1,000. Determine the density altitude for these conditions. Altimeter setting is 29.25. Runway temperature is 81 Fahrenheit. Airport elevation is 5250 feet MSL. Correct answer is 8,500 feet MSL. You will need a navigation computer for that. Pilots flying over a national park are requested to fly no lower than 2,000 AGL. What is the crosswind component if the intended runway is 33 and the wind is from 30 degrees at 15 knots? The answer is 13 knots. That concludes practice exam 3.